Hey there, guys and gals. This is Reverend Benjamin Blankenship, and you're listening to another thrilling episode of Firebrand Podcast. Here today, this is just an audio only one, summer audio, summer video, depending on what all's going on. Particularly if I have a guest, it tends to go video. My family and I, we just went out at a very early showing to see the movie Sound of Freedom, and let me tell you that it is absolutely spectacular. I mean, I feel kind of like it's a must-see movie. I don't want to give too many spoilers here, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you what it's about. So just say a little bit of spoiler alert, lest I give any really crucial details, but I'll try not to get into that. I will tell you that it is based on a true story, and what the movie is about. Here's what the movie is about. Is child trafficking, real life child trafficking, taking from a true story. It's so fantastic, it's so passionate that it will move you to tears, that it's very emotional, unless you're a pedophile and trying to push that kind of agenda. Presumably, that's what's been said of Disney, because the movie was made several years back by Fox, which I always used to love Fox. Fox had made some great content, all growing up as a kid and everything. I mean, I just felt like they smashed a lot of other places. But that's what happens when you sell out. Unfortunately, the way that Disney is that's what happens when you sell out. We can talk about Walton when he owned it and when it was privately owned and when they opened it up to other people and how he had said that Hollywood is full of communists and all kinds of things. When people buy things out, they take control. Disney's actually so huge right now that there's antitrust law stuff and everything going on to where it's problematic that they own so much media in accordance to some. So anyway, Disney put the film on a shelf. Disney, a place that is notably being charged with promoting, things against children that are harmful for children, that have by the police innumerate times had people that were registered sex offenders working in their park, that have worked in things that involve the sexualization of children. I don't care if you're a grown adult how you want to live your life, but you leave the kids alone. That would bring things in involving the sexualization of children in children's shows and children's movies and all these sorts of things. That's why, every preacher that's a real preacher, every Christian that's a real Christian, and even groups like Gays Against Groomers, regardless of what affiliation they want to say, that they're with here or there, any reasonable, sensible, sane person, and in my mind, leave the kids alone, don't prey on kids. So, I mean, suppressing this, there's already been people saying, how could anyone want to suppress this that was anything but a pedophile? The story goes and follows after a real-life Homeland Security officer who he just basically put everything on the line to rescue these real children that were being trafficked. The movie will take you at some point out into Colombia. There's a lot of great stuff, very dangerous places that he went to. The man that plays him is the same phenomenal actor that played Jesus Christ in The Passion of Christ, a movie that's so spectacular that I kind of question what's wrong with anybody that wouldn't like it. You can like and you cannot like what you don't want to, but as far as a lot of historical accuracy and even looking legitimate, even the beating and the death scene being the most accurate that have ever been done on film, to the point that they felt real, even though, historically, not just in the Bible, but by historical records, that Jesus was treated vastly worse than that his back was flayed, that it looked like raw hamburger meat, that he wasn't even recognizable as a man, even though they stripped him naked on the cross to humiliate him, ripped out his beard. They don't do those things in The Passion of Christ. I believe the actor dislocated his shoulder when Mel had him going ahead and doing all of that. But phenomenal actor. He plays that part. Everyone in the movie, from the heroes to the villains, they're all great. Again, Fox, like legitimately Fox, before they sold out to Disney, for money. made this. So, I mean, reputable studio. It was bought out by Angel Studios, who in their own right are a reputable studio. They are the ones that created the series The Chosen. That follows after the life of Jesus Christ, and as fanatical as I am about like Bible stuff, actually being accurate, I mean, they're really not stepping far out of the lines at all on how things were. There's a lot of it that is Jesus fan fiction, so to say, but I mean, they're not going into weird and crazy places where you can go to slinging your finger around and saying it definitely, most certainly wasn't like that. So, I mean, it's a good, captivating, engaging show. A lot of fantastic actors and actresses and everything on there. Everyone in their production crew is doing a professional job on The Chosen. It's touching a lot of people. It's making a lot of money. They have both Christian and secular people making that. I know that there was a big stink about someone having on their own private property stash. They had a flag that was a rainbow flag. I'll just go ahead and say, and we all know what all types of things that stands for. And there was a big back and forth. Should they or shouldn't they? And some people were like, well, if it had a swastika on it, you would have taken it off. The person was there through like a private contractor. I mean, there's some real iffy stuff. It's like how in the Nativity movie, maybe a decade ago, that the woman that was playing the Virgin Mary, she's a person, she's an actress, she's not the real Virgin Mary. She got pregnant outside of wedlock. It was not immaculate conception, but she got pregnant outside of wedlock. And there were some people that went berserk over that. An actor does not have to be saintly to play a saint. They're playing a character. They're playing a part. Nor do they have to be devilish to play the devil. And there have been some fantastic actors that I like a lot that have played Satan. I mean, I could just, go all through them. What was it? Al Pacino and Michael Glover and all kinds of people. And, I mean, you don't have to be the worst person in the world, though, to play, a infernal type character, nor would you have to be a saintly person to play someone that really is a saint. Anyway, this movie, what they said at the end, they had a special message that was rolling there during the credits. Went ahead and quoted Abraham Lincoln and talked about the book, which, by the way, is one of the most amazing books that you would ever want to read in your life, Uncle Tom's Cabin. Now, if there's somebody that's listening to this, and if you're like, that book is racist, okay, dial it down and don't talk about things that you don't know. That book was actually against slavery to the point that it caused people to stand up and rise against slavery. It started out as a prettier scene of it. There in the end of the book, it talks about how initially you saw slavery, how flowers were covering up the chains and masking the ugliness that there really was. By the end of it, you've got the guy that's the biggest jerk in that book. It would be a great movie, by the way, how he's sicking the dogs on the slaves and everything like that. It's a book that just about makes you want to cry. It's so well done. There's a white woman that genuinely loves one of the black girls, and she had never experienced that before. Someone that was a real Christian, she had church, preached to her, or some version of it where people were distorting the Bible to suit their own means. But to meet someone that was really a Christian, that was really Christ-like, and the black girl weeps because she says that she really did love her, and that she's the first white woman that she felt like loved her back, and she had never been loved by a white person before. So I mean, there's touching stuff in that. So I mean, that's what comparatively they said, that they hope that this goes against the slavery, that real slavery that's going on today with children being abducted, that you can sell drugs one time, but that you can sell a child 5 to 10 times a day for 10 years. A horrible thing going on. God bless them for putting out this movie, Sound of Freedom. I heavily encourage you to go see it. If you say, but I don't have the money to do it, Angel Studios, because they're not some big Hollywood company that's about the money, but because they generally care about people and care about getting this message out, in the theaters while it's out, they are having a pay it forward place, which you can go ahead and you can do that. But if you go online, you can find it and you can get your ticket paid for. If you absolutely do not have the cash, if you don't have, I mean, don't be ashamed. If you don't got it, you don't got it. They're going ahead and doing that, lest that be an issue with you. I absolutely love the message and what they're doing. It makes you teary-eyed. It is really touching. It is a super, super well-done movie. Again, everything in it is top-notch. It's not just a movie. It's a movie that means something. Go out and see Sound of Freedom. I could say on another end, besides me in the whole ministerial realm, for anybody that's listening to this, that's read any of my secular stuff, I've written some pretty terrible, I don't mean poorly written, but, profane without necessarily using profanity, secular stuff. There's a lot of evil that goes on in the world, and me having this whole criminal profiler kind of view where I used to be into all that kind of thing. I'll have really bad things going on that people want to shy away from, even violence against children. In the Confederado, I touched on sex magic, which was really revitalized by Aleister Crowley, so that is a real thing about like raping children to usher in the demonic and what have you, and the God Walks the Dark Hills series, I had one of the main characters, Reginald Beauregard Valencia, is what his name becomes later. It was Chuck Van Cole from the beginning, but he's an African Congolese boy, and he gets raped on a slave ship, and it just ruins his life. And in book 5, which isn't out yet, he'll finally get to exact his revenge on the man, Reginald Beauregard Sosa, who went ahead and did that to him, that wicked first mate, a man that made him into the same, kind of monster, or a monster like he is. There's a character in book 4 whose name's Oleander Green, who very much has like an Epstein kind of thing with some Dorian Gray thrown in, and he's really effeminate and a scatophiliac, and he has a taste for young dark-skinned boys, which that's a real thing, Jeffrey Dahmer and so on and so forth, but he puts them in cages, and it doesn't go into more detail than it needs to go through with him. You just realize that he is a really bad, pious, plutocratic, rich, nobody can touch me, there's those who make the laws and there's those who have to live by them, kind of monstrous person, and named after a poisonous a flower, by the way, but Oleander, but Oleander Green, he's an interesting character. And then I have another character in there who his mind is warped because his dad had raped his sister, and then they went out in the Mountain Meadow Massacre, and that's Seth Nettles. And his dad was killed by the Mormons there, and he felt like God delivered him, and he has a whole lot of sexual problems towards grown women, not children, because of all the depravity that he was exposed to in his youth, and has this bitter, unforgiving hatred towards what his dad did towards his sister, and even her for being engaged with him, even though she really couldn't stop that. So, no, I don't think that we need to ignore the filth that's going on in the world. I don't just write things like that for shock value. I write things like that in fiction. So, you see when somebody's a monster, and when I write something filthy and awful, I've made people feel like it. That is totally... on the opposite end of me being in ministry and all those things like that. But I have written those things in fiction, and I do realize the dark realities that are out there. And I know that there's a lot of people that walk around with blinders on, and they want to act like they're not going on. But all of those things, and those things that I even put in fiction, are very real things that go on, and they're absolutely monstrous. And, I just don't necessarily think that you can reform a monster. I think that there are people that draw a certain line, certain places, that if you have a problem that you need to get help, it would be better if a millstone was tied around your neck and you were cast into the sea than if you were to hurt some little child. Go see this movie, Sound of Freedom. Let people know about it. it's a great thing that they're doing, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you.